The Second Battle of Copenhagen was a British bombardment of the Danish capital, Copenhagen, in order to capture or destroy the Dano-Norwegian fleet, during the Napoleonic Wars. The incident led to the outbreak of the Anglo-Russian War of 1807, which ended with the Treaty of Örebro in 1812. Britain's first response to Napoleon's continental system was to launch a major naval attack on the weakest link in Napoleon's coalition, Denmark. Although ostensibly neutral, Denmark was under heavy French and Russian pressure to pledge its fleet to Napoleon. In September 1807, the Royal Navy bombarded Copenhagen, seizing the Danish fleet, and assured use of the sea lanes in the North Sea and Baltic Sea for the British merchant fleet. A consequence of the attack was that Denmark did join the war on the side of France, but without a fleet it had little to offer. The attack gave rise to the term to Copenhagenize. Background. Despite the defeat and loss of many ships in the First Battle of Copenhagen in 1801, Denmark-Norway, possessing Jutland, Norway, Greenland, Schleswig-Holstein, Iceland, and several smaller territories, still maintained a considerable navy. The majority of the Danish army, under the Crown Prince, was at this time defending the southern border against possible attack from the French. There was concern in Britain that Napoleon might try to force Denmark to close the Baltic Sea to British ships, perhaps by marching French troops into Zealand. The British believed that access to the Baltic was vitally important to Britain for trade as well as a major source of necessary raw materials for building and maintaining warships, and that it gave the Royal Navy access to help Britain's allies Sweden and Russia against France. The British thought that after Prussia had been defeated in December 1806, Denmark's independence looked increasingly under threat from France. George Canning's predecessor as Foreign Secretary, Lord Howick, had tried unsuccessfully to persuade Denmark into a secret alliance with Britain and Sweden. On January 21, 1807, Lord Hawkesbury told the House of Lords that he had received information from someone on the continent that there were secret engagements in the Treaty of Tilsit to employ the navies of Denmark and Portugal against this country. He refused to publish the source because he said it would endanger their lives. The reports of French diplomats and merchants in northern Europe made the British government uneasy, and by mid-July the British believed that the French intended to invade Holstein in order to use Denmark against Britain. Some reports suggested that the Danes had secretly agreed to this. The cabinet decided to act, and on 14 July Lord Mulgrave obtained from the king permission to send a naval force of 21 to 22 ships to the Kattegat for surveillance of the Danish navy in order to pursue prompt and vigorous operations if that seemed necessary. The cabinet decided on 18 July to send Francis Jackson on a secret mission to Copenhagen to persuade Denmark to give its fleet to Britain. That same day, the Admiralty issued an order for more than 50 ships to sail for particular service under Admiral James Gambier. On 19 July, Lord Castlereagh, the Secretary of State for War and the Colonies, ordered General Lord Cathcart at Stralsund to go with his troops to the Sound where they would get reinforcements. During the night of 21/22 of July, Canning received intelligence from Tilsit that Napoleon had tried to persuade Alexander I of Russia to form a maritime league with Denmark and Portugal against Britain. Spencer Perceval, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, wrote a memorandum setting out the government's case for sending forces to Copenhagen. The intelligence from so many and such various sources that Napoleon's intent was to force Denmark into war against Britain could not be doubted. Nay, the fact that he has openly avowed such intention in an interview with the EOR is brought to this country in such a way as it cannot be doubted. Under such circumstances it would be madness, it would be idiotic to wait for an overt act. The British assembled a force of 25,000 troops, and the vanguard sailed on 30 July. Jackson set out the next day. Canning offered Denmark a treaty of alliance and mutual defense, with a convention signed for the return of the fleet after the war, the protection of 21 British warships and a subsidy for how many soldiers Denmark kept standing. On 31 July, Napoleon ordered Talleyrand to tell Denmark to prepare for war against Britain or else Jean-Baptiste Bernadotte would invade Holstein. Neither Talleyrand nor Jackson persuaded the Danes to end their neutrality, so Jackson went back to the British fleet assembled in the Sound on 15 August. The British published a proclamation demanding the deposit of the Danish fleet. The Danes responded with what amounted to a declaration of war. On 12 August, the 32-gun Danish frigate Frederiksfjord sailed for Norway from Elsinore. Admiral Lord Gambier sent the 74-gun third-rate Defence and the 22-gun sixth-rate Comus after her, even though war had not yet been declared. Comus was much faster than defense in the light winds and so outdistanced her. On 15 August, Comus caught Frederiksfjord off Marstrand and captured her. The British took her into service as HMS Frederiksfjord. Bombardment. The British troops under General William Shaw Cathcart, 1st Earl Cathcart were organized as follows. Cavalry Brigade, Major General von Linsingen. 1st King's German Legion Regiment of Hussars. 2nd King's German Legion Regiment of Hussars. 3rd King's German Legion Regiment of Hussars. Artillery and Engineers, Major General Blomefield, 84 field guns and 101 siege guns. 2nd Company, 1st Battalion, Royal Artillery. 7th Company, 1st Battalion, Royal Artillery. 6th Company, 2nd Battalion, Royal Artillery. 4th Company, 3rd Battalion, Royal Artillery. 8th Company, 3rd Battalion, Royal Artillery. 9th Company, 3rd Battalion, Royal Artillery. 1st Division, Lieutenant General Sir George Ludlow. Guards Brigade, Major General Edward Finch. 1st Battalion, Coldstream Regiment of Foot Guards. 1st Battalion, 3rd Regiment of Foot Guards. 1st Brigade, Brigadier General Ward. 1st Battalion, 28th Regiment of Foot. 1st Battalion, 79th Regiment of Foot. 2nd Division, Lieutenant General Sir David Baird. 2nd Brigade, Major General Grosvenor. 1st Battalion, 4th Regiment of Foot. 1st Battalion, 23rd Regiment of Foot. 3rd Brigade, Major General Spencer. 1st Battalion, 32nd Regiment of Foot. 1st Battalion, 50th Regiment of Foot. 1st Battalion, 82nd Regiment of Foot. 4th Brigade, Brigadier General McFarlane. 1st Battalion, 7th Regiment of Foot. 1st Battalion, 8th Regiment of Foot. Reserve, Major General Sir Arthur Wellesley. Brigadier General Stewart. 1st Battalion, 43rd Regiment of Foot. 2nd Battalion, 52nd Regiment of Foot. 1st Battalion, 92nd Regiment of Foot. 1st Battalion, 95th Regiment of Foot. 2nd Battalion, 95th Regiment of Foot. King's German Legion Division, Major General Van Dreschel. 1st Brigade, Colonel Duplat. 6th King's German Legion Line Battalion. 7th King's German Legion Line Battalion. 8th King's German Legion Line Battalion. 2nd Brigade, Colonel von Drieberg. 3rd King's German Legion Line Battalion. 4th King's German Legion Line Battalion. 5th King's German Legion Line Battalion. 3rd Brigade, Colonel von Bars. 1st King's German Legion Line Battalion. 2nd King's German Legion Line Battalion. 4th Brigade, Colonel von Alten. 1st King's German Legion Light Battalion. 2nd King's German Legion Light Battalion. The Danish forces in the city amounted to 5,000 regular troops and a similar number of militias. Most of the civilian inhabitants of Copenhagen were evacuated in the few days before Copenhagen was completely invested. On 26 August, General Wellesley was detached with his reserve and 2 light brigades of British artillery, as well as 1 battalion, 8 squadrons and 1 troop of horse artillery from the King's German Legion to disperse a force which had been sent to relieve the beleaguered city. On 29 August, at the rivulet of Caux, this significant British force swiftly overpowered the Danish troops, which amounted to only 3 or 4 regular battalions and some cavalry. The Danes rejected British demands, so the British fleet under Admiral Gambier bombarded the city from 2 to September 5, 1807. In addition to the military casualties, the British bombardment of Copenhagen killed some 195 civilians and injured 768. The bombardment included 300 Congreve rockets, which caused fires. Due to the civilian evacuation, the normal firefighting arrangements were ineffective. Over 1,000 buildings were burned. On 5 September, the Danes sued for peace, and the capitulation was signed on 7 September. Denmark agreed to surrender its navy and its naval stores. In return, the British undertook to leave Copenhagen within 6 weeks. Payman had been under orders from the Crown Prince to burn the Danish fleet, which he failed to do, though the reason for his failure is unknown. Thus, on September 7, 1807, Payman surrendered the fleet. In addition, the British broke up or destroyed 3 74-gun ships of the line on the stocks, along with 2 of the ships of the fleet and 2 elderly frigates. After her capture, one ex-Danish ship of the line, Neptunos, ran aground and was burnt on or near the island of Avon. Then, when a storm arose in the Kattegat, the British destroyed or abandoned 23 of the captured gunboats. The British added the 15 captured ships of the line that reached Britain to the British Navy, but only 4, Christian 780, Denmark 74, Norge 74 and Princess Carolina 74, saw subsequent active service. On October 21, 1807, the British fleet left Copenhagen for the United Kingdom. However, the war continued until 1814, when the Treaty of Kiel was signed. Aftermath. The news of what happened did not reach Canning until 16 September. He wrote to Reverend William Lee, "Did I not tell you we would save Plumstead from bombardment?" 1 week later he wrote, "Nothing ever was more brilliant, more salutary or more effectual than the success, and Percival expressed similar sentiments." The Times said that the confiscation of the Danish fleet was a bare act of self-preservation and noticed the short distance between Denmark and Ireland or northeast Scotland. William Cobbett in his Political Register wrote that it was vile mockery and mere party cavilling to claim that Denmark had the means to preserve her neutrality. William Wilberforce MP said the expedition could be defended on grounds of self-defense. Thomas Grenville wrote to his brother Lord Grenville that he could not help feeling that in their situation we should very probably have given the same order without being able to publish to Parliament the grounds on which we had believed in the hostile mind of Denmark. Lord Erskine condemned it by saying if hell did not exist before, Providence would create it now to punish ministers for that damnable measure. The opposition claimed the national character was stained, and Canning read out in Parliament the previous administration's plans in 1806 to stop the Portuguese navy falling into the hands of France. Canning and Castlereagh wished to hold Zealand and suggested that when the British evacuated it as part of the peace they should immediately occupy it again. This was strongly opposed by Sir Arthur Wellesley, however, and it did not happen. The opposition claimed that the attack had turned Denmark from a neutral into an enemy. Canning replied by saying that the British were hated throughout Europe and so Britain could wage an all-out maritime war against France without worrying who they were going to upset. The opposition did not at first table a vote of censure on the battle and instead, on February 3, 1808, demanded the publication of all the letters sent by the British envoy in Denmark on information regarding the war readiness of the Danish navy. Canning replied with a 3-hour speech which Lord Palmerston described as so powerful that it gave a decisive turn to the debate. Lord Howick said the speech was eloquent and powerful, but that it was an audacious misrepresentation and positive falsehood of the correspondence between himself and Benjamin Garlike. The 3 motions on this subject were heavily defeated, and on 21 March the opposition tabled a direct motion of censure on the battle. It was defeated by 224 votes to 64 after Canning made a speech very witty, very eloquent and very able. The British bombardment frustrated the first attempt to publish a modern edition of the Anglo-Saxon poem Beowulf, as the subsequent fire destroyed the 20-year work of scholar Grimor Jonsson Thorkelin. 2 manuscripts, however, were recovered, and Thorkelin eventually published the poem in 1815. A horse foaled in 1808 was named Copenhagen in its honor, and was eventually sold to Wellesley and became his favored mount, most notably at the Battle of Waterloo.